Hello, 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 folks. I hope everybody enjoyed office hours today. I hope you were able to attend. That was really a lot of fun. And now we are going to continue the fun by looking at binary upload boom. We're going to give folks a couple minutes to get in here before we get started, just because, folks might need to use the restroom, walk the dog, but definitely got a fun little project for today. And I'm looking forward to doing it with you. 2 minutes and we'll go ahead and get started. My phone is going off. What is going on here? I got people on Discord asking when my stream is. It's right now, people. We are live. Hopefully somebody else is able to respond to them. Hey, welcome, folks. Come on in, come on in. Hope y'all enjoyed office hours. What do y'all think of the Discord stage instead of Twitch? I actually kind of like that. It's kind of fun, Folks coming up on stage, posting in general chat. Pretty enjoyable. Hey, Hertz, good to see ya. I hope everyone's had a good weekend so far. Has anyone done anything fun? Coding is fun? Yeah, coding is fun. That's right. Hey, let's code. Welcome. Your son had a soccer tourney? Oh, that's rad. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Countdown is finished. Let's switch over here to the main screen. And I have changed my monitor setup a little bit, so hopefully my audio levels are okay. I hope my audio sounds good. Hope y'all can see me, and we'll see how this new setup goes. Finished Lara Croft, Guardian of Light. Ah, nice, Rufio. That's awesome, especially since you were able to play with your sister. Hey, Serg, welcome. Newfound respect for that cat gif where the cat is angrily fast typing its code. I've done that. Hey, Atis. Hey, Ryan. All right, so what are we doing today? Well, today we are continuing with the binary upload boom code, except this time we're adding some functionality to it. Hey, Shantendo. Crafty sheep, hey. Granberry, welcome. Yeah, so we're adding some functionality to it. So on Thursday, Leon introduced the concept of adding comments to our code. Or to our, sorry, not to the code, to the application itself, right? So giving users the ability to comment. And so of course the first thing that I thought of was that, well, all these comments in Leon's code, all these comments are anonymous. So anybody could say anything. And also there's no way to delete it. So if you say something that you think is funny in the moment and then you later regret, there's no way to get rid of it. I think we've all done that at some point. They say the internet is forever, but at least normally there's at least a button that makes you think you're going to be able to delete. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to add usernames. So we're going to add attribution for these comments. We're going to add people's usernames to the comments themselves. And and we're going to add a delete button that is specific to the user that is logged in. So if I'm logged in, I can delete my comments. I can't delete anybody else's, but I can delete mine. So Regrets. Yeah. It's happened to all of us, right? So here's an example of that. It's a little bit behind my head. Let me just move this over a little. So we've got some comments here. Hey, Jack Tree. No, Atis, that we're doing that. We're adding usernames to the posts. We're adding usernames and deletes. So we're a double threat today. Usernames and deletes. So if you look here, we've got comments. And what I've done here, this is the finished version. We're going to build this again here on stream. So if you've not been on one of my streams before, normally what we'll do is I'll show you the finished product first, and then we'll walk through how we get there with some fresh code. Yeah, so we've got some comments here. And you can see that this one is by user Wolf2. And that's actually the user that I'm currently logged in as. So I'm logged in as user Wolf2. And this is my comment. This is a perfectly reasonable comment. So I can delete this comment because it was submitted by me, right? So I have the capability to delete it. And I have it. So then we have some other comments by user Wolf3. It seemed fairly harmless. I can't delete those because they're not mine. Now we have another one down here by, again, me. It says, I will change my mind about this comment shortly. So who knows what I said. But regardless, I'm going to want to delete it. So that's what I'm going to do. And then when I click this delete button, the page refreshes and the comment that I changed my mind about is now gone. So that's what we're going to do today. And it looks simple, right? It looks fairly simple. We're not even going to leave this page, right? We're going to stay on this post page the entire time. But the mechanics of it are kind of interesting, and it takes a fair amount of thought about the relationships between the data that we already have in order to make this work. Didn't know people on the internet could change their minds. It's rare, but it does sometimes happen. Upon further reflection, I no longer believe in my comment. Oh, yeah, I'm going to turn on captions. My apologies. Let's get those going. Thank goodness for that bot. All right, we'll start the captions here. All right, captions should be going for anybody that wants or needs them. So there you go. Okay, I'm going to catch up with chat here, make sure I didn't miss anything before we get started. I couldn't make class Thursday, so can this be my group? Well, Kismet, so we're not going to do exactly what was done on Thursday. We're not actually going to go through adding all of the components to make comments in the first place. We're going to take the existing comment code and modify that to add an additional feature. So I would still highly suggest going through the process of taking the original binary upload boom from the main branch in Leon's repo and adding comments to it. I would still highly suggest going through that exercise either alone or with a group. Can we comment on comments? Piece of shoot. Rascal has actually done that. Rascal 2 actually did that in their stream, I believe. So if you want to learn how to do that, sort of nest comments, have nested comments associated with a parent comment, I do believe Rascal did that. 100 Hours Project where it's Indeed, but I'm the other one that gets all the job offers. Added likes and deletes to comments. I have to watch Rascals yesterday to nest comments. Yeah, so if you've already done this, definitely check out Rascal's stream because, like usual, Rascal takes it to another level and adds even more features to what's already there. So, but we're gonna just kind of take it one notch up from just adding comments in general. We're just gonna focus on how do we get the information that we need in order to add delete and usernames to the comments themselves. Yes, Rascal is extremely helpful. They also have a Twitch channel and they stream pretty regularly. So please follow them if you aren't following them already. They just do a lot of fun. They do more advanced topics, but they're usually pretty darn fun. So yeah. All right. So I thought how we'd get started with this is rather than just jumping straight in, I thought what we would do is talk about our objectives, the two things that we're trying to do, and then kind of brainstorm a little bit how we might get there. So, what are some of the things? Think about some of the things that we're going to need in order to get to those objectives. Hey, Zena. Thank you for the follow, Sharif. All right. So, our first objective here is adding a delete button. So like this right here. So we want to add a delete button and delete ability to each comment. And this delete button and delete ability should only be visible to the user who submitted the comment. Okay, so what do we think are some of the things that we're going to need in order to make this possible? Let's just focus on number one for now. What are some of the things that we think we might need? Just in general, it doesn't have to be specific. What are some of the things that we might need in order to make a delete button and a delete ability, which is only visible to the user who submitted the comment? And just as a refresher, we can look at what we already have in the comment model. This is what Leon did on Thursday. We can look what's already in the comment model. Right now, we have the comment text, we have the likes, we have the post it's associated with, and the created date. So what else might we need? What else might we need in order to have this delete button be visible to just the user who is logged in and submitted the comment? Yeah, we probably at some point we probably need the user's ID. Yeah. Now when you say the user's ID, what do you mean by that? Do you mean the ID of the user who submitted the comment, or the ID of the user who's currently logged in, or both? Okay, so Snidarian, I hope I pronounced that right. Snidarian says the user who created it. Yep. User who created the comment. Something in the view. Okay, sure. Do we allow OP to delete the comment, or only the person that left the comment can delete it? So the way we're going to do it, only the person who left the comment can delete it. However, you could tweak it to have the OP, or by OP we mean original poster, the person who owns the post. You could have that as an option as well. The way we're going to do it is we're going to keep it a little simpler. We're just going to do the person who submitted the comment should be the only one who's allowed to delete it. So, yeah, so the user who created the comment, we're going to need that. Sure. And yeah, we're going to need we're going to need their ID, right? So we're going to need the user who created the comment's ID. We're going to need a button, obviously, right? A button. Okay. Some kind of conditional in the views. Yeah, right? We're going to need a conditional statement of some kind in the view, and that's perfectly fine. We don't got to get specific just yet. A conditional statement in the view, what do you think that conditional might do? What do you think that conditional might do in order to determine whether to show the button or not? Yeet the button. Check the logged in user with the commented user ID. Yeah, yeah. That compares the logged in user with the comment user ID. Yeah, something like that. Yep. Sure. And then Kasava had a good point, said we're also going to, whatever we add, we're going to need to add it to our various steps in the backend. So we're going to need to add it to, when we say add something, in order to facilitate the delete process, what are we, like if somebody clicks delete, we want something to happen, right? So in order for that logic to take place on the back end, what would we need on the back end in order to execute that delete? Just in general, what component do we need on the back end in order to execute that delete? Hey, Lazy, welcome from India. Yeah, we're taking an app and we're adding a feature to it. We're adding a user-specific delete feature to our app. Yeah, we're going to need a controller with a method, right? So we're going to need a controller with a delete method. And as Kasaba said earlier, we're going to need, and then we're also going to need a route to that controller, right? A route to the controller. Yeah, exactly. Yep, 100%. Yeah, this is great. This is great. So we're gonna need. So when we talk about we need certain new things that we don't already have. Like we need the user who created the comments ID. We're gonna need these things to compare. Where, like, if I wanted to say, all right, fine, I need the user who created their comments ID, and I'm gonna have a controller that's gonna do these things. Um, where does that? Where is that user's ID stored? Where do we store that? Where is it? So that user, that's a perfectly good answer. That's the user that is coming in from Passport. But if we're comparing two things together, right? We're comparing that logged in user against the user who created the comment, right? Yeah, we're storing that. We need to be able to store the user who created the comment in our database. And specifically, where do we think we'll be storing that? Which collection? Yeah, we're going to be storing it in Yeah, we're going to be storing it in our comments. Yep. We're going to be storing it in our comments collection. Yeah. So in each document in our comments collection, we're going to need to add a line for the user who submitted that comment, right? Yeah, we're going to put it in. So it's going to end up in the schema, which is going to populate that collection. And Spaghetti, what you're saying there as far as like tables and SQL and stuff, yeah, that would be perfectly valid, except we're actually not using SQL for this project. We're actually using MongoDB. We're using MongoDB today. So we're using a NoSQL database, and so we're going to be working with documents and collections instead of records and tables. But yeah, you can translate it pretty good between the two. Okay, so yeah, we're also going to need DB storage of the user who created the comment. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think we've got a few things that we're going to need to implement here. Pretty good start, I think. Good brainstorming. And some of this will carry over to the second thing we're trying to do here, which is the username associated with each comment. But one distinction that we're going to have to make here is between the unique identifier for each user who added a comment um, and their username. So, we know that MongoDB assigns each document in a collection with a unique ID, right? An ID that's not duplicated. And that's what we normally use when we compare two pieces of data together, right? We compare an ID to an ID because we know that they're truly unique, and you're never going to get a duplicate on accident. Say, like, two people have the same username, which probably isn't going to happen, but it could, right? And so in addition, what are we going to need down here if we want to add the username associated with each comment to the comment text? And by that, I mean, in this example here, we say user wolf2 says this, or user wolf3 says this. What in addition, what are we going to need to do here? Foreign key, yeah. Yeah, I can tell you're coming from SQL there, Spaghetti. I am too. I'm a SQL dev. Yeah, we're going to need to render the username in the DOM. Sure. What else? how do we think we might get that username? Do a populate, yeah. We'll probably need to look it up in some way, right? So at some point we're going to do, we're going to need to look in the database for the username. How might we, what might we use to look up the username in the database? We already said that we're going to need to change our comment storage to add the user ID who created the comment, right? Yeah. So we're going to need to do some kind of a find by ID, find by that ID. Yeah, we're probably going to need to look up that username based on the ID that's associated with the comment. Yep. Look in the user model, find by user ID, right? So find the username based on the ID of the ID, I should say the user ID attached to the comment. Yeah. Find the username based on the user ID attached to the comment. Cool. Find by ID, user ID, and comment ID. Well, you're kind of on the right track. We're going to need to be using both the comment ID and the user ID at some point. But in the end, just to get the username, all we'll need to do is, as long as we have that user's ID, we can find the username in the user collection and just send it back down to the view and render it together. We can send all that information together in one object back to the view and just render it that way. Kasava says, this is so smart. Make a list of what you need to do before writing the code. Yeah, I think with something like this, it's kind of helpful to do that. You don't always do that, but for me anyway, when I was building this, when I was adding these features, I just kind of dove right in, and I ended up having to do a couple of iterations because I would make mistakes. I wasn't thinking far enough ahead. I would make mistakes and end up printing the, like the user ID here instead of the username because I forgot to look it up. So yeah. Yeah, spaghetti. So sometimes SQL is pretty efficient at doing these things, right? Sometimes SQL is maybe a little bit more efficient than doing it in MongoDB, when you can just write a straight up query and get the data back. But yeah, it's interesting to see the differences between the two. It's not always more efficient. Sometimes, there's a balance, right? Okay, so we kind of have an idea of what we need to do. So let's go ahead and get started actually doing it, shall we? I'm going to take a quick hydrate here. Pseudocode helps so much. Yeah, it really does. And this is important practice just in general. Like, you might be like, all right, fine, just do it. Just get into it. Start coding. But the reason we do this pseudocode, and we kind of talk through these problems, is because this is what you will do in a job interview. If you get asked a coding question, you're going to want to talk it through first, make sure you really understand the question and what you need, so you don't get off on the wrong track and spend 20 minutes spinning your wheels, right? And at the very least, if you're able to talk out the problem with the interviewer, you'll show that you understand the concepts, even if you don't get the question right. Even if you can't find the right answer, at least you show that you understand the concepts and what's being asked. Rosh, so we actually already have the post ID, so the basic ability to add comments is already in place. What we don't have is, and we'll run this, and we'll run the original code in a second. This is the finished code here on the right. We'll run this code right here in a second, and to show what's already there, what we're starting with, and then we'll build it out a little bit more. Yeah, that's a good question, though. All right, so we kind of know what we need as far as the basics. So how about we get this code up and running? If you're wondering where this is coming from, this is coming from the 100 Devs repo, and it's the binary upload boom. There's a new branch on this repo, and it is literally called comments. So however you want to, get this running, whether you fork and clone it, whether you download the code, that's up to you. If you want to do this as well, be sure you're grabbing this comments branch, because this has the comments code that Leon added on Thursday. So I will link to this and drop it in chat for you. And that's the link directly to this particular branch with the comments on it. All right, so let's get this one running. And what do we need to do first? Just a quick pop quiz. We're going to go really fast at this because, I mean, you should have a basic idea of how to get this code running. But pop quiz, what do we need to do first in order to, I've just downloaded this code from GitHub. What do I need to do first in order to get it running? Well, there's a few things I need to do, but any of them is the right answer. npm install and create a .env file. Yes, exactly. That's what we need to do. So two things we need to do there. We're going to go ahead and drop our env file inside of the config folder. I already know that that's where this code is looking for it. But if you're not sure what to do, you can always look at the README file. And there is one here, and it tells you exactly what to do. So I'm going to create my env file first, and then we'll do our npm install. So in the config folder, I'm going to add my .env. And I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to go fast at this. If you're not sure how to get your env file up and running, I have 2 previous streams where we spend like 30 minutes to an hour just on that. So if you're not sure what to do here, check back on my 2 previous streams. We've spent a lot of time on that, and you should be able to get it going. So I'm going to just grab the contents of my env file and drop them in here. And yes, I will be showing some keys here, but it's for educational purposes. So it's all good. I know what I'm doing here. Just showing some keys, but I'm going to change the port so we don't have a port conflict here. All right, going to save that. Got my DB string, cloud name, API key, API secret. All right, and we've got that running. So now I'm going to do my npm install. That's the second step, right? The README, and that was the other thing we need in the README. Get everything running there. Hey, DevD, we just went through basically the requirements of what we're trying to do. So we kind of brainstormed a little bit, some of the things that we're going to need. And now we're just getting the code running so that we can actually start putting those things in place. All right, so it looks like the install went just fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this running so we can pull it up and see what we're starting with. Let's see what we're working with here, and we can learn how to modify it. Yeah, DevD, you can reset your Cloudinary keys if you need to. There's an option to do that on the Cloudinary website. All right, so it looks like we're running here. We've got our happy messages. We got our server running. We're connected to MongoDB. All right, let's open up a port and let's see if if y'all ever need to record GIFs or GIFs, whatever you call it, if y'all ever need to record GIFs for like Twitter or something like that, if you want to show off your projects or show them off on your GitHub, use Screen to GIF. I really like that tool. That's what I use for my Twitter stuff. So just FYI. Oh, come on. All right. Okay. I'm going to open a new tab here, and I'm going to go to port 8500. Okay, so the code is running. That's good. We like that. And I'm going to go ahead and log in. Now, I already have an active session because we're hitting the same database I was already using. So I have an active session, so I was able to log in. But let's go into a post and let's see what we have here. See what we're working with for starters. Okay, so here just behind my head, or behind the chat box there, I might actually move, give me 1 second. I'm gonna move the chat above my head so it's a little easier to see what we got going on here. Okay, chat should have moved above my head now. So it's a little easier to see the comments. All right. Ismail, yeah, office hours today were on Discord, on a Discord stage, and I believe that's what Leon is planning. For to do every now and then. So keep an eye when he posts about office hours. Beforehand, does the announcement. Just pay attention to whether he's saying it's on Discord or Twitch, because I think he's going to be, swapping back and forth occasionally. We have the high ground now. Hope the stream goes for 3 hours at least. Kids need to name the kitty. Yeah, and if you're wondering what that means, we have a channel point reward for naming one of my foster kittens. So be sure to check that out if you haven't seen it already. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, we see the same comments as before, right? But it's missing all of the extra stuff. So we don't see anything about, we don't see any usernames. There's no option to delete anything. Everything is just like a static list, right? There's no buttons or anything that we can do here. So comments are already present. So we'll go ahead and add, we'll just add a new comment here just to show how that works. So add a comment here, click submit, and the comment appears. Still no cat with a mustache. No kitten with a mustache yet. But yeah, so when I add a new comment, it appears right here at the top. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to change the sort order for our comments. I don't like it that the new comments show up at the top, because it seems to me that in most forums and like on most spaces where you can leave comments, new comments appear at the bottom. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. But that was like the first thing that I changed. So that's a little extra. Okay, so this is what we're starting with. So any questions here before we start actually going into the code and seeing if we can change some features? Sort by new on Reddit? No. I never do that. Top or best only. It's almost, sorting by new is almost as bad as sorting by controversial. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions on what's already here. I mean, fairly straightforward, right? And also, too, just as a reminder, inside of inside of MongoDB, we also have a collection now for comments. As soon as it logs me in, come on, Mongo. We also have a collection for comments. So that goes along with our post, session, and user collections. Okay. Again, none of this is all stuff that Leon added on Thursday and that y'all hopefully did with your group on Thursday as well. So happy to answer any questions on this, but it is, a little bit of review there. Okay. Not hearing anything here. All right. So let's go back to our requirements here. And as Leon was talking about in office hours, if you're able to attend office hours today, we talked about various ways that we like to go about building out new apps and changes to apps. And I think I've mentioned before that I kind of, like Leon said, they kind of like to start at the model and then work forward, right? So starting at the model, then thinking about what the backend needs in order to function properly, and then thinking about what should be displayed in the view. And that's kind of how I like to work too. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start at the model and then kind of figure out how to get that data out of the model and push it forward into our view to give us what we want to have in our view. So where should I start then? If I want to start in the database storage, where should I look in order to think about, okay, I want to store the user ID who created this comment. Where should I start if I want to modify our database storage to also store the user ID who created the comment? Yeah, we're going to look inside our comments.js inside of the model, right? And as Serg mentioned, we're going to make a modification to this model code, and we're going to be touching what's in our comment schema. Yeah. So I'm going to make this a little smaller just for now, so we can still see what's on the screen, but we can see more of the code. So hopefully that's visible enough for you. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and modify our comment schema here to accommodate an additional field for the ID of the user who submitted the comment. Yeah. All right. I got to remember what I called it. What did I call it? Okay. So I called it created by, and I put it after the post. So we can create essentially a new property inside of our documents here. Yeah, I called it created by. Yep. Created by. And we're going to create a new object here. Now, here, created by ID. So this is the user ID. Yep. Created by ID. So that's the thing we're grabbing first. So created by ID. And here I want to directly compare a MongoDB user ID of the user who submitted the comment, because I know I'm going to be comparing that against the user who's currently logged in. Copy the lines above. Yeah. And so essentially the type is going to need to be essentially a Mongoose object ID, right? So instead of just saying a type of a string, we're actually going to want to reference a specific MongoDB ID. And so if we format it in this way, Mongoose is going to know exactly what this is. It's an object ID. It's the ID of the user who submitted the comment, and it will treat it as such. So we're going to add that. And just like above here, we're going to add a reference to not the post schema, but the user, not the post model, but the user model. Yep, so it's going to follow the same pattern as above. And then put a comma afterwards, and then that should do it. Yeah, so now why did I do this? Well, because I know for a fact that what I'm storing here is literally a MongoDB ID. So I identify it as such. That's the type. That's the thing I'm storing. And I know that I'm going to be referencing the user model whenever I get this data. So reference user, the type is a MongoDB ID. Yep, so we can access the user collection and get that data. Yep. That's what I'm referencing here. And I mean, what's nice is that we've already done it once, right? We've already done it for the post, for the individual post IDs. So every time we render this page that we're on right here in the app, every time we render this, we have to go up to MongoDB, get the specific page for that post ID, the information for that post, and pull it down just to render the page. So we've already done it once. And now we're just adding an additional feature where it's also going to store the ID. Post doesn't have a required, but should we require it for the user? So the way we're going to code this, that's an interesting question. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could make it required, but if in order for us to even access this page, the page that we're on right now, this specific post page, I believe you have to be logged in, and we can check the route really quickly just to see. Let's see for posts. Yeah, so even just to see this post page, like the page we're on right now, we are already making sure that they're logged in. So what that means is that when we submit a comment, the user is logged in. So Passport will 100% of the time be able to pass that user information up to our model. So it shouldn't ever be missing. because they already have to be logged in order to even get to this page. However, I mean, if you wanted to make it required, I think you could. That's just an interesting thing to think about. Yeah, good question though. Because yeah, we are even just to render this page, we're already making sure via this middleware, we're making sure that we are already logged in. Yeah, and for the folks wondering about this image, this is an AI generated image using Stable Diffusion, which is also a channel point reward, by the way, if you're interested. Yeah, that's why it looks so funky, because it was generated by an AI. All of the stuff in my app currently is AI generated. Okay. All right, so we've changed our model here, and we've added the created by ID. Okay, awesome. And what was our other objective? Our other objective with this particular project was to also add the username associated with each comment to the comment text. Now, for welcome our AI overlords. Now, there's various ways that we could do this, right? And the way I'm going to do it is, may not be the best way, but it definitely works, right? And there's definitely, plenty of options, which I think is pretty cool. But the way we're going to do it, we're also going to need to add an additional property inside of our documents that's also going to hold the username of the user who submitted the comment in the first place. So we add it to the post.ejs file. Yes, and we will get there. We're gonna start at the model, and we're gonna kind of work our way down. And then by the time we get down to that EJS view, we're gonna have everything that we need. Using the magic of populate user. Yeah, and I think that's the way that that Rascal did it too. Once we get to the controller, we'll see how I did it. I did it kind of using some of the code that's already in place, sort of taking those Lego bricks and putting them in. But yeah, like I say, there's definitely plenty of different ways to do it. I'm going to do it the Lego method, but if you're a little bit, more savvy with Mongoose, then yeah, you can definitely use other ways as well. All right, so we're also going to add our username associated with each comment, and we're going to add that into each document that we create. Okay. So we have our ID, and what this is going to do is it's going to determine whether or not that delete button is going to be visible, right? So we're going to do a comparison with this, and we're going to see whether or not the delete button is going to be visible. Yes, and we will use rec.user devd. Absolutely, we will. Once we get to the controller, I'll show you how we're going to use that. Yep, rec.user will definitely come into play. But we do need to store, but okay, here's a question. Rec.user exists, right? Rec.user totally exists. So why are we even storing the user ID in the comment collection? Why do we bother? Why are we storing the ID inside of our comment collection? I want to make sure everybody understands this. Why did we add this? Yeah, exactly. So this is important because this created by ID might not equal the user who is currently logged in, right? Because rec.user is going to be the user that's currently logged in, which may not equal all of the users who submitted all the comments on the page, right? You're going to expect to have comments from lots of different users. But what we're going to do is we're going to compare this created by ID, we're going to compare this to the user who is currently logged in, rec.user. And if they match, then we're going to display the delete button. So does that make sense? That's why we're storing this inside of our document so that we can compare it against rec.user, see if they match, and then and only then display the delete button. Tongue-tied today. Yeah, there you go, Devd. You got it. Yep. Yeah. But it's good to just, to reinforce this and make sure that no, that's okay. That was a great, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad because that allowed us to go over, okay, why are we even, why are we even keeping this at all, right? Why do we care about this? Yep. Okay. So, and the other thing we're going to store is we're actually going to see if we can store the username of the person who created the comment. Oh, and Zena says mine was kind of janky and matched by username instead of user ID. And yeah, in most cases, probably fine because I think we're enforcing unique values in the user model. We can look here. User schema. Yeah, so we are enforcing unique values inside of our user schema for username. So you're probably fine, Zena, but still, probably best practice is to use, the MongoDB ID again, but your method would probably work just fine. So, yep, as long as it's unique, exactly, right? So yours is probably fine, Zena. Yeah, and best practice is a tricky thing. So normally we don't care too much about best practice, but when you're getting into database and storing large volumes of data, the more accurate you can be, the better off you'll be in the long run. Once your app starts getting hundreds and thousands of users, you just don't want to shoot yourself in the foot for the future, right? Yeah. Now, and that's exactly right, piece of shoot. So if you allow a user to change their username and you're matching on usernames, you could potentially not allow them to access any of their comment history, right? Potentially. So that's a great point, piece of shoot. I didn't think of that either. Yeah. So if you add more features, you might end up breaking your own storage. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's it. I'm really glad you brought that up, piece of shoot. Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and add a field where we're going to store their username as well. So I'm just going to call this one created by. You could call it like created by name or something like that. I just call it created by. Um, and so here, remember, I'm going to be storing a username. So what type do you think this is going to be? What should my type be? Type is what? Yeah, it's a string. Exactly. Right, my dog is asleep and he's dreaming and his paws are moving and so he's like thumping the floor with his paws. It's really cute. Sorry. Oh yeah, so type is going to be string. Yep, type is going to be string, and we need a taco cam. Yeah, no, I can show him to you. Yeah, he's chasing squirrels exactly. I'll see if I can see if I can after the break. I'll see if I can angle the camera down so you can see him. I don't want to mess up my camera angle right now. I just got it perfect, but yeah. Added unique to the username and email so those suckers can't make a second account after I yeet them. Yeah, I mean that's more protection, right? And we can also go ahead and do a ref user here, and then put the comma. All right. And so those are really the two new things that we want to store, right? We want to store the username and we want to store the ID. I'm not sure if the ref user is necessary here, but it doesn't seem to hurt anything. So it's all good. It doesn't break it, so I'm just going to leave it in there for now. What does ref do? Well, when in the case of like this ID field, we're actually referencing our user model where we're storing our user data to grab, when we grab this object ID. Yeah, because we have this user model. That's where our user objects are stored, and we're referencing it. Yeah, so nothing crazy. Yeah, and we're not even using populate here, so it might not be a big deal. Doesn't hurt anything to have it though. Okay, so our model has been updated. I think we're good to go there. So let's go back to our goals here and see what else we need to do. So we've got this. Let me see if I can I use my, is that gonna work? No, it's a text file, so that's not gonna work. All right, so we did this, done. And we're gonna need a few more things. So we're gonna need something that's going to fetch the user who created the comments ID. We're going to need something that fetches their ID. We're going to need a route to our controller, and we're going to need a controller with a delete method. So, and I think we're also going to need in our controller, we're also going to need some point, we're going to need to be fetching the user who created the comment, right? We're going to need to be fetching the user and their username. So let's go ahead and take a look at our controllers and see if we can start to figure out how to populate these two new fields that we added into our documents. How will we get the username from just ref user? Well, so that's a good question, Techie. So does the schema actually do anything? Does the schema actually perform any action? What do we call the schema? What is the schema? What do we always compare it to? Yeah, James R. McHenry coming in with that first time chat. Yeah, it's a blueprint. It's a template. It doesn't actually do anything, but it guides our model. And where do we invoke that model? Where do we call on that model? What part of the code do we reference that model in? In our controllers, yeah. So the part of the code that's actually doing the logic, so if you think about it this way, the schema is a blueprint. The model is like the construction worker who's actually like talking to the database, doing the work, building the documents, doing that kind of thing. And our controller is like, I don't know, like the architect or the engineer. It's saying, all right, construction worker, go to the database and get me this, then this, then this, then this. And the construction worker is like, yep, I can, and go build that document for me, please. I want you to build that document. I'm giving you the materials to do that. The construction worker is like, yep, boss, I got it. I'm going to go build that document for you. So all of our logic, where we're guiding what happens, all of that happens in our controllers. Yeah, project manager, sure. Yeah, however it clicks in your brain, it's important to remember where the logic actually happens. Construction worker says time for union break. Yeah, the controller. Yep, our controller is where that actually happens. Yeah. So it's not just that ref field magically makes us talk to the database. It's about the relationship between the controller and the model that actually makes the magic happen. Yeah. So what we're going to have to do is modify our controllers in order to actually start populating our new fields. So you can just do user.username in the controller. It's going to be a little bit more complicated than that, but that's okay. We're going to go through it. So don't worry, we're going to go through it. Hey, Atricia. Hey. No, you're not late. We're just talking through, we already modified our model, and we're talking through how to modify our controllers. And also, too, if y'all did arrive late and you want to try to catch up, I do have the finished code on my GitHub. Excuse me. And it'll be, it's exclamation point GitHub if you want to link to my GitHub. And it's the binary upload boom repo. Thought it started at 3. No, so that's if you are following me on Twitter, I do announce schedule changes there. So since Leon only did a power hour today for office hours, I try to start just right when office hours end. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at our controllers. Now, how do I know which controller I need to modify? How can I tell which controller is talking to my comments model? How can I figure that out? How can I figure out which controller is talking to my comments model? Oh, I'm sorry, Patricia. Yeah, I didn't modify the schedule. Because office hours seem to end at a different time every Sunday, I don't really know what time to set it as. Yeah, we could look at the route, certainly. What's an even quicker way we could, if we just wanted to just quickly look through these controllers and figure out which one is talking to our comments model? What's a way that we could do that? So let's see if we can figure that out just by looking at the in the controllers themselves. Okay. So right when I click into this controller, I can literally tell which model or models it's going to require, right? Yeah, exactly. Chromosaurus and Hertz. Yeah, we can just look at that, right? We can just look and see. All right, which one of these is talking to our comment? Sorry, to our comment model. So it looks like we've got a couple, huh? So potentially more than one. We've got something in our comments.js controller and in our post.js. Okay. What's that called? All the const part in files. This is just our this is just what we're requiring. So whenever we require these, that means we can reference them in the file later on. So we can require we can require code that's in external files, import it, and reference it in this particular file. Oh, and Drunk Uncle has the official name, a declared variable for folder pathing. Fancy. Yeah, it's basically like importing. Yeah. Yep, exactly. So let's figure out what we're referencing here in both our comment.js and our post.js. So in comment.js, this particular controller, Twitch profile pic actually looks like me. Actually used to look a lot more like me. I used to wear glasses and I had short hair, like a couple inches short. Stopped wearing the glasses and stopped cutting my hair during the pandemic. So I look a bit different than I used to. Um, but yeah, so in here, in our comments controller, what are we doing? Well, this is where we create comments, right? So creating a comment, where each time a new comment is submitted, we are creating the body. And it looks like some of the things that we're passing in here, we're missing two of the new fields that we need to be passing into our documents, right? So we're going to need to add a little bit to this, right? We're going to need to, so if I do this, if I do to do add new properties to each document, okay? So we need to make a change there. Yeah, and Piece of Shoot says when you're talking about these require statements, you could even call them with import instead of require. Yep. Orange comments. Yeah, I'm using an extension. It's actually pretty useful. It allows me to comment things in different colors depending on what I prefix them with. So yeah, in this case, we have a to do. So it's orange. Yeah, we're going to need our new properties added to this. So much better than dark green. Yeah, the default comment color is sometimes really hard to see and you don't always recognize it. You don't always catch it. Yeah. So, and that extension, if you're interested, that extension is called Better Comments. Oh, sorry, wait, no. Is it better comments or to do highlights? I don't remember. No, it's this one. It's called to do highlight. Sorry. To do highlight is the one. Yeah. If you're interested. Okay, so that's what we're going to be adding there. We're going to make a change there. Cool. And let's look at posts and see what's being referenced here for posts. So if I click on this, it highlights itself. I should be able to see where it's being referenced down here. Okay, so it's being referenced in get post, and I think that's it. So it's being referenced in get post in that method. Just double check here. All right, and what's happening here? Well, this is where we are getting the comment information, and we're finding, so this is when we're rendering that page, this page right here that we're on. That's when we're rendering this page. We're grabbing the comments, and we're saying, all right, await comment.find, look for any comments that are associated with this post ID, sort them, and then pass literally everything that we find into our post.ejs. Okay. So let me just look at something here real quick. Okay, good. So I don't think we need to modify anything here actually, right? So why don't we need to modify anything here? Oh, should we change descending to ascending? Yes, actually we do. That's right. That's one thing we said I wanted to do, a little extra. I want to change the sort order of these so that the newest comments show up at the bottom. So we go bottom up, right? Because that's how most forums and comments actually work. So other than that, thank you, good catch. Other than that, why am I saying that we don't need to modify anything here? Because we added new things to our comment model, right? So why am I saying that we don't need to modify anything here? Because what are we doing here? We're going up to comment, and we're finding all comment information associated with the current post. We're sorting it, and then we're sending all of that information down into post.ejs. Yeah, exactly. Because we've updated the model so it knows what to retrieve. It knows it's going to be retrieving 2 additional fields, right? So when I reference comment, we're going to be retrieving 2 additional fields automatically. We changed the model. We're all good. We're going to be retrieving 2 additional fields. It's just going to grab everything. It's going to sort them. And then it's just going to take all that stuff, bundle it up into an object, and toss it down to the view, right? It doesn't care what's in there. It's just grabbing everything, bundling it up, and punting it down to the view, right? It contains everything. Yeah, exactly. I just imagine it like you're kicking a soccer ball. You're just like, all right, poof, all the way down. Hey, Kyle, welcome to the stream. We're just talking about offloading offloading some stuff onto our views instead of doing it in the controller. Kasava, that's an interesting question. You have to add the 2 new fields into the render part, right? Is that true? Is that true? Think about what we're doing here. We're sending down all of the information. So let's say we retrieve let's say we're retrieving a post and all of its associated comments. All right, so here we have a key value pair which contains literally everything about the current post. Could be 5 properties, could be 10 properties, everything in that document, all bundled together. Here, we have all the information about the user right here in rec.user. So here, what do we have? Yeah, it's I like that. I like that concept. Yeah, it's included like a Happy Meal versus a single burger. Yeah, it's still a single unit, right? It's just got a couple things added to it. Exactly. Yeah, it's all the data from whatever documents we're pulling out of the database. Yeah, it's just everything. Because we've already updated the model, it's going to grab everything. That's the cool thing. That's why we love schemas so much, because you can reference them over and over in different contexts and always know what you're getting, right? We updated the schema once, and now we can reference it as many times as we want and always know what we're sending into the database and what we're getting out. Yep. Kyle says, so no SQL used. Yeah, so we are actually working with a NoSQL database, which is called MongoDB. And so, yeah, we aren't using any SQL for this project. We're just using MongoDB and Mongoose methods to talk to that database. Yeah, Kyle, you may have seen on my profile, I'm actually a SQL developer, but we aren't using any SQL for this particular project. We're practicing NoSQL. If you are interested in learning about SQL, Kyle, I do have a stream on my YouTube channel. I think it may have dropped off of Twitch by now. But I have an intro to SQL stream on my YouTube channel, ! YouTube, if you'd like a link to that. Yeah. So if you're interested in SQL, you can learn a little bit about it there. But for this, we're doing NoSQL. Yeah, Ted, and that's what's so cool is there's so many different ways to do this, right? We're kind of taking baby steps today, because for most folks, we're just kind of dipping our toe into using multiple collections to send data, to grab data and send data to our views. But yeah, you could definitely, there's definitely ways you could combine this. You could use you could kind of chain things together. You could chain promises like you're doing there. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the fun thing about this is that there's multiple ways you can retrieve this information. Comments grabs the entire info from the comments schema or just the comments text. Nope, it grabs everything it can find. It grabs everything it can find, and it bundles it all up into this single key value pair right here, and it passes it down to the view. Yeah, Kyle, if you're interested in learning JavaScript, please do check out the 100 Devs community Discord. Free classes, they're all on Twitch, and it's all free. So I'm just a volunteer kind of community helper. The main teacher, Leon, he's super great. Again, it's all free on Twitch. You can learn at your own pace, and the Discord is super active. Very helpful. So yeah, check it out. If you want to learn JavaScript, that's how I learned JavaScript. I did not know JavaScript before starting 100 Devs. And I didn't know any of it at all. I was just a SQL dev. And now we're doing stuff like this. So it's pretty rad. Yep. So yeah, this is grabbing everything or all the properties in our comment in each document that we retrieve, right? Yeah. So it's sending it all down. And basically what we're doing is we're offloading it to the view to decide for the view to essentially decide what parts of that it actually needs to pull those out and to display them on the page. So yeah, we're kind of offloading it on the view here to do that work. Okay, so we really didn't need to modify anything here. Like I said, the only thing we changed was the sort order of the comments. So now when we load the page, we'll see new comments appear at the bottom of the list. Okay, but we do need to modify our comment controller, right? So we said we had a to-do here. So we'll need to add our new properties to each document. All right, so create comment. We already have the comment field. We have our likes. We have the ID of the post. And our other two things that we need to add are we need to add our created by, which is our username, right? And we need to add our created created by ID, which is the ID of the user who created it. Okay, so let's start with the ID. Let's start with the ID. If I am creating a new comment, so if I'm Joe Schmo over here on the page, and I'm on a post, I type a comment. This is a very insightful comment. If I type that and I hit submit, the comment will show up on the list. And some data will be passed up through our create comment route, all the way up to our create comment method, and write that to the database, right? So if I'm trying to populate this created by ID field, where do we think I can get that information? Where do we think I can get the ID value of that user who just submitted this comment? Yeah, exactly. We can just get it from rec.user.id. Exactly. Yeah, rec.user.id. And that will populate that created by ID field and store it in the database. Now, some folks might be confused, like, okay, why does that work? Like, why don't we have to do a lookup against the database? Why does rec.user.id work in this case in the create comment method? Why does that work? Oh, Kosova, yes, I will answer your question in just a second. Yeah, like some folks were saying, in order for, so remember that the rec.user.id is passing through Passport, which has all the user information. And in order for me to submit a comment, I have to be logged in, right? I have to be logged in. So Passport has all that information. It's passing it up in the request. It's already there. So at the moment I submit this comment, I am a logged in user. My information is stored in the request, and I can simply pull it out and attach it to the document that's being created right here. Yeah, the request contains all the information from the user who just submitted the comment, because I already know, we already confirmed that I have to be logged in order to get to this page and submit a comment. So that data is already available to us. And now this ID will be stored permanently in the database. And when I go back, maybe logged in as a different user, when I go back, this ID will still be stored. And that's when we start doing our comparisons to see if I'm allowed to delete this comment or not. We'll see this in action in a little bit if you're still not quite sure why I was able to do this. But we'll see what this is for once we start messing around with our logic in our view. Okay, so for created by, remember this is actually, and we'll finish this controller and then we'll take a break. So this created by here, this is the username of the person who submitted the comment. So I'm going to show you. So some other folks were saying some other methods of maybe finding the username, but I'm going to use something that was already, something that was already present, I believe, in one of the other controllers. And I just kind of copied and pasted. So let me see here. Yeah. So when I did it, I just copied and pasted from one of the other controllers and dropped it in, which, copying and pasting is always nice, right? So right here, in order to get the username, I'm going to do a find against our user collection, because we have a user collection which already contains the username. So I'm going to take some code that already exists, drop it in, and just modify it to do what I need. So I'm going to need to change some stuff here. I'm going to create a new variable here called comment user. You could call it whatever you want. Hey, Frazee, welcome. All right, and I'm going to await a find here, except I don't want to find a post. I want to find a user. And I'm going to await user dot find by ID, except this time I want to find by the user ID that's already logged in. So I'm just going to do a user find by ID rec.user.id. Herd says something like rec.user.username work. Are you talking about for the find? Like, is the find criteria? Or what? It's a little bigger. There we go. Do you want us to get an error when installing npm? You should just be able to do npm install, and it would install all the dependencies that you need there, Noobish. Okay, so that's a good question there. And okay, I understand the question now. So you're wondering about getting the username, right? You're wondering about getting the username out of our user collection, right? That's what you're wondering about. How do we get that? Well, first, what we need to do is we're going to just go ahead and find. We need to give Mongoose something to search on, right? We need to give Mongoose something to search on so that it can find the right document and then get the right field out of that document. So first, we essentially just need to tell it what it's searching on. So it's not searching on username. We need to pass something in for it to search on. Oh, it's already in the request.user. Okay. I guess I didn't realize that. So maybe mine's a more circuitous way of doing it. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying now. So rec.user.username is already in there. Okay, well in that case we don't have to do this. We could just do. So what I was doing is just doing an additional find, and then down here I was doing comment user dot username. Like that's what I was doing. So it's finding the document with the appropriate user information and then extracting the username from that. But what you're saying is that that's not required and that we can just do rec.user username. Yeah, that's what folks are saying. So we'll do that. Rec dot user. Yay, it's a shortcut. All right, rec.user dot username. Okay. Code Dead says you use GitHub Copilot. No, I don't. Just because I'm learning how to be a web developer, and so I think Copilot, might hinder me being able to learn the skills that I need. But I've heard Copilot is pretty cool. All right, so theoretically that should work. I'm just going to comment this out, comment that line out because we don't need it. And yeah, we'll see if that works. Cool. Thanks, guys. All right, we'll save that. And I think it's time for a break. So we've updated our model. We've updated our controller. So yeah, the GitHub code has my original method. And so you can always look at that too. But I think what folks are saying is a reasonable shortcut. Yeah, the GitHub code still has the original way of doing it. Yeah, code don't want to take any use any of those things tools yet. I'm sure we'll get there. Oh, you redeemed an AI image? Okay, that's weird. I didn't. Oh, there we go. I didn't see the redeem in my list, DevD. Let me see. Oh, I see it. Okay, sorry, Debbie. Yeah, we'll do that at the end of the stream. Okay, we'll do the redeem at the end of the stream, and it's pretty cool. So these are always fun. I always love doing them. It's super fun. You get to watch an AI generate a series of 5 images based on whatever prompt DevD would like to submit, and it usually turns out amazing or amazingly weird. So it's pretty cool. Looking forward to it. Don't let me forget, DevD. Okay. All right, so we've modified our model. We've modified our controller. What do you think we're going to be modifying next? What's another thing that will need to be modified in order for us to make sure that we're making use of yeah, we're going to need to have to do some sort of modification to our routes. And actually, I skipped something here. We skipped something in something that we talked about in our. That's why we write down our goals, right? So we don't forget things. We skipped something here. So let's see, what did we do? We got the user information. That's done. We're not going to do the button yet. That's in the view. Again, we're going to have that's in the view as well. Aha. We need to do one more thing to the controller, which we'll do after the break. We need to add our delete method. So we're essentially, we've set up the logic that's going to be able to show or hide the delete button, but we're also actually going to need that method that's going to perform the delete action. So we're going to need to set that up as well. So that's one more thing we'll need to do in our controller. And then, as you all said, we're going to need to add a route to that controller to make sure that we can access it. Oh, we got a stretch there? Okay. There we go. Thank you for that. Thank you. What's the difference in rec.user versus rec.params? So rec.user is being passed through middleware in the body of the request itself. When we say rec.params, that's being passed in the path. So when you say like /user/ and then you have the user ID value after that in the path itself, like in the anchor tag that you click on or whatever, or in the form that you submit, you're passing a route, right? You're passing a path, which is going to go up through various routes and finally end up in a controller. That's where we say rec.params. But if it's coming in the request body itself, like through middleware, for example, that'll be just stored directly in the request. Is the path the same as query parameters? So if I was thinking about that, I would say, so if we look real quick, let's look back here. Let's find an example here. So when I hear the word query parameters, what I think of is exactly what I'm passing into this Mongoose method in order to filter my results when I'm talking to the database. So here we're using rec.params.id, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be something else. It could be, for example, down here, we're doing a find one and update, and we're filtering on a different parameter down here. We're doing, I can't find a good example. We're using rec.params in most of these, but it doesn't always have to be that. It could be hard coded. It could be, a variable coming from somewhere else. So that would be what I would call a query parameter. I hope that makes sense. I don't really have good examples of it in this particular code, but I mean, a query parameter could be like, all posts with a value of, I don't know, banned for banned users. Okay, let's go ahead and take a break. It is definitely time. We'll take 5 minutes on the clock, and then when we come back, we will go ahead and keep modifying our controllers to add that delete method, and then add the route that references that delete method. And then we'll finally get into the view and figure out how all of this is going to be passed into the view and displayed properly where we want it. You see the comment schema? Yeah. And if you are wondering, what the comment schema is supposed to look like, that's not it. Hang on. You can always, like I say, you can always go to the GitHub and look at it there. But I'll try to leave it up during the break. Okay. 5-minute timer. Google timer is back. I'm very happy. Oh, sorry. There we go. All right, 5 minutes on the clock, and I will see you all back here very shortly. Okay, folks, we got about a minute left in the break, so come on back, come on back. And before we get started again, I have something pretty cool to share with you. Yeah, and definitely look at Rascal's excellent explanation of query parameters. That's a really great explanation. Thank you, Rascal, as always. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the timer here and turn on my webcam. So if you'll indulge me for just a quick second, I wanted to share with you something really cool. So one of our community members, Madeline of Trivia, and yes, and I'll show you the dog as well. But one of our community members, Madeline of Trivia, heard that I was fostering kittens, and so they sent me a couple of amazing things. I just wanted to share them with you here on stream real quick. So one of them is this wonderful box of toys for my foster kittens. So I really appreciate that, and I just wanted to shout them out. So thank you so much for sending me this wonderful box of toys. And they also, I learned that I was talking to them and I learned that they also do art. And it's really beautiful art. They do playing cards, tarot cards, prints, and that sort of thing. And I wanted to shout them out as well. So these are, I'll show them here. So I don't know anything about tarot, but these cards are absolutely beautiful. They come in they're in this beautiful box, and I just wanted to share them with you because they're just gorgeous. So I don't know how well you can see them, but just dozens and dozens of beautiful cards, and they're all based on rescue cats. So yeah, they're cat themed. I know, and they're all based on rescue cats. All these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful custom art. So yeah, and they also have regular playing cards as well. So regular playing cards, tarot cards, shirts and bags. And they were so generous with their gift of these toys. And so I wanted to shout their art out as well. These are their regular playing cards. Again, just beautiful. It's kind of hard to see in the camera here. Whoop, and I'm going to drop some of them. They're on my keyboard now. Yeah. So beautiful, beautiful art. And if you want to see more about them, definitely go to Consider It Cat. I'll paste the link to their website so you can see some of their art. But it's just gorgeous, and it's all based on real rescue cats. So definitely go check them out. And they're a community member here in 100 Devs, and so that's why I think it's really cool to support the members of our community. And it's also important for us to remember that we may be devoting a large portion of our time right now to coding and learning how to code, but we're also very multi-talented and multifaceted people. So if you're struggling with coding, I mean, all of us have so many other talents, and coding is just one small part of that. It's just one small facet of ourselves that we're trying to improve and trying to make better. So always remember that we are multi-talented individuals, and we have such great skills, and we're just building on one small part of ourselves with all this work. So their website again is consideritcat.com. There we go. I'll make sure that works. Yeah, that's their website. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so definitely check them out and give them some love if you would. All right, cat ears are coming off. I'm not going to wear them for the entire stream, but I had to wear them just to share that information there. Okay. That might be a channel point reward. I don't know. I ain't doing that for free. Yes, always remember you have value outside of code. Yeah. So that was my brief little aside there. I see folks, sometimes getting down on themselves or frustrated when they're struggling with coding. And I think, stuff like these beautiful tarot cards and these beautiful pieces of art just help remind us that, we have so many skills and so much value. And I think it's so cool that we can share that with others. Big facts, indeed. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. Do they have a website? Yes, they do. And I just shared it in chat there. It's consideritcat.com. So you can check out their stuff there. Oh, make it a poll. Like I said, that might be a channel point reward in the future. How did we go about renaming the database name on MongoDB? Well, that is actually in our connection string. If you're not sure how to build out your connection string, I would suggest checking out a couple of my two most recent coding streams. We spent a lot of time on that and talked all about how to build your connection string and how to build your env file. So if you're struggling with that, you can always go check out a couple of my more recent streams about how to create your connection string and specify a database name inside of it. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to it. We were talking about we updated our model and we updated one of the controllers, but now we actually need a new controller, right? We need a brand new controller now that's going to handle our delete method. So we need to build a new controller for our delete method. Okay. So inside of our controllers, I'm just going to pop into our comments controller, which right now only has one method, right? And we'll add it in here just below the create comment. And some folks were saying earlier that they find that coding controllers is really difficult. And I would say, yeah, I think that's a fair assessment because the controller is the brain, right? The controller is the logical part of your app, and so that's always going to be the most complex part. It should always be the most complex part, just because it's performing the most operations. It's dictating the actions of your app, really, right? And so it's no wonder that controllers are difficult. So don't worry if you feel that way. I struggled with a bug for 20 minutes yesterday before I realized my server wasn't even running. Yeah, I think everybody's done that, right? Yeah, everybody's done that, and now you know exactly how to solve it. This will be fairly early in my troubleshooting checklist from now on. Yeah, and eventually you start to build a mental checklist for how to troubleshoot when things go wrong. So these are all good learning experiences. Yeah, it's not easy to be an engineer. Exactly. That's why we always talk about managing frustrations, right? Because it never goes away. You're never going to not be frustrated as a dev. Like, that's just not possible. So async rec res. Why am I typing this out when I could just copy and paste? Async rec res. Who needs to type when you have Control C, Control V? I swear, I'm going to get like a Control C, Control V tattoo. Like, if I ever get a tattoo, like, that's going to be my tattoo. Control C, Control V. All right. So inside of this delete comment method, let's think about what we need to say. So what do we think we might need in general? How should we start filling this in? We know we're going to need to be talking to the database in some capacity, right? We know we're going to need to be saying something to the database to perform the delete operation. So whenever we're talking to the database, how do we generally format our controllers? What's the general format? You don't have to tell me specifics. But what's our general format for controllers when we're talking to the database? Yeah, we're gonna have some kind of try catch block, right? We're gonna have some kind of try catch block, probably with some kind of an await in it. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're struggling with starting a controller, you could just start with the basics, like, right, you're gonna try. Oops, when did that populate? All right, whatever. Try, and then we have our catch, and we're gonna catch any errors, and we're gonna console log those errors. Okay, perfect. That's a good start. All right, so inside of this try block, we're going to need, as you all said, we're probably going to want some kind of an await, right? And what are we trying to do? In this method, what is our goal? What is our objective in this particular controller method? What is our objective? Somebody clicks a delete button, right? If we look at the finished version, somebody clicks this delete button right here. And what do we want to happen in the database? delete a comment. Yeah, exactly. And we're going to, as Jazzy Pants said, it needs to be a specific comment, right? We want to find a single comment. We want to find exactly this comment and yeet it, delete it, right? Target a comment and either delete it or disassociate it. Yeah, we're actually just going to straight up delete it, but that's true. We don't necessarily have to delete it. If you're like Facebook or Instagram, I'm sure they never actually delete anything, right? They're just flipping a flag somewhere that's going to hide it, but they keep all that data. They're like, dragons on their hoard of gold. Go full Zuck. Yeah. We're not going to do that. We're going to be nice. And if somebody wants to delete something, we're actually going to delete it. Cringy post. I'll allow that one. Yeah, cringy post from your dirtbag years. Yeah, exactly. Snapchat has all our pics. I'm sure they do. They never delete anything. They just say they are, right? So all right. So we're gonna want to perform some kind of a delete operation. In order for us to do that, we're going to reference our comment model. Comment. Okay. And the cool thing about Mongoose is that it's pretty, I guess, alliterative when it comes to the actions that you want to perform. So what Mongoose what Mongoose method do you think we'll use if we want to delete a single comment? Any guesses? We could do a find and then do some kind of delete, but I think we could be even faster about this. Find by ID and delete. Yes. Let's do, there's actually a Mongoose method called delete one. Now, if we just start typing, we can see that it actually gives us several options here, right? And I think any one of these would be reasonable. We're just going to use delete one, but I think, you could do find by ID and delete as well. We're going to use delete one. Like I say, I don't think any of them are wrong or right. This one seems to work pretty well. Find by ID and delete is good as well. And in order for this to work, we need to essentially tell it what we're looking for. And so I think we did find by ID and delete. We could probably just pass the ID straight in. But since we're using delete one, we need to give it a little bit more context as to exactly what we're filtering on. So in order to populate this properly, we just need to say, all right, hey, we're deleting one and we're specifically looking for the ID property, right? We're looking for an ID that matches. We're specifying the field that we're filtering on because we're not being specific. We're just saying delete one. And so we essentially need to specify our filter. So we're going to say ID. And here we're going to pass in something. We're going to be passing the ID up from our view. So somebody clicks on this delete button. When we code out that, we're gonna make sure that we're passing the ID of the comment up in the parameters. Now, there was some discussion in the chat earlier about, okay, what do we do with parameters? How do we get them out? How do we get them out of the path? Where do they come from? That kind of thing. Well, when we code out our view, we're going to see exactly how to build something like that. Yeah, so somebody said, well, recparams.id. Now, we need to be careful with our naming conventions, though. We don't want to accidentally pull out the wrong ID, like maybe the post ID or the ID of the user, right? So what we're actually going to do is we're going to specify a specific name for our parameters, rec.params, and we're going to call it comment ID. So we're going to need to be making sure that we pass something up from the view that matches the comment ID. So we can put it into our delete method here and have it delete exactly the comment that we specify. And we'll see how this works in a little bit. But for now, we're just gonna drop that in there and say, hey, we're gonna make sure that we're passing up the comment ID inside of our request body so that we can just go and delete it. Okay, so we've passed it up and we've deleted it. And after I delete something, I mean, we could store it in a variable hertz, but in this case, we don't need to. I mean, yeah, but we could, because the only thing that we're doing after this, well, okay, I guess I'll ask, what is the only thing that we need to do after we delete this comment? What's the next thing we do? What's the only next thing we're going to do? Yeah, we're going to essentially make sure that the page is refreshed or reloaded or redirect, whatever, and we re-retrieve all of this data so that we see the comment has been deleted. Yeah, we're going to do a res.redirect, and we're essentially just going to make sure that this page appears again, retrieves the data again, and doesn't show that comment that we deleted anymore. Yeah, back to the same post. Yeah, Fanaflix says just delete from the client side. We could do that. We could hide it from showing to the viewer, right? We could, and we could leave it in the database. Like I was saying earlier, that's essentially what Instagram and Facebook and really any major site does, right? Because they never want to get rid of your data. They always want to keep it and just hide it from you, right? But we're actually going to do a full delete because this is a training exercise. We're just practicing how to do CRUD operations. So this isn't really ever going to be like a production level app. But I definitely see your point, Fanaflix. We're essentially just practicing these types of operations. Hide it for sell it, yeah, I'm sure, 100%. It's for data optimization. It's for machine learning. All those things that they're using to just end up making more money in the end. Yep. All right. So we're gonna put a redirect here. I know we don't necessarily have to. There's other ways we could do this, but for our purposes, we're just going to go ahead and copy this redirect statement from when we created a post or from when we created a comment. It's doing exactly the same thing. So we're going to copy this and just drop it in. It's just Legos, right? We can always come back and optimize this later. But for now, we're using the Legos that we have, in which case it's this. We're going to drop it in. We're sending 2 params then. That's a great observation. Essentially, we are, and we'll see that when we get down to the view. Well, essentially, we're going to be sending 2 parameters inside of our path. And this one, so we called the first one comment ID, but this next one I'm going to call post ID, just to delineate the difference between the two. All right. Got a text message that was loud. Rascal says, I also sent 2 parameters. Okay, if I'm doing it the same way Rascal did it, then I feel like I'm on the right track. You could pull out the post from the comment you deleted. Yeah, we could do that as well. Yep. In this case, I think this is a good exercise in seeing how parameters work and how the types of data that you can send in parameters, which is kind of why I did it this way. The fact that you can pass multiple things at once in the same path. You don't have to just do one at a time. You can pass more than one if you need to. You don't always need to. And so, yeah, you could also pull it from the delete as well. Yep, 100%. In this case, I thought it was just kind of interesting to try and pass 2 parameters inside of your request value, inside of your path that you're sending up. Yep. But yeah, that's definitely another great solution. And that's a good point there too, phytochemist. Deleting data also takes some of the liability off of you for storing it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Kosovo, what does delete want? So there's tons of mongoose methods out there. You should just maybe do a Google search on all the different mongoose methods that you can use for interacting with the database, because there's dozens and dozens, and they all do essentially what they say on the tin, right? Delete one deletes an item based on the based on what the filter that you provide. So in this case, we're saying filter on ID and make sure that that ID value matches the comment ID that we pass in. There's delete, find by ID and delete, which expects an ID value. Yeah, there's tons of different Mongoose methods out there. And Fanaflix just shared probably an excellent link there, mongoosejs.com, different query, yeah, different ways you can query the database. Yeah, that's great. I used it from the DB by first find by ID, then removing the comment, then redirecting it to the post inside the comment. No, I think that's fine, Cranberry. Yeah. Did it work? If it worked, then it's fine. Yeah. Like I was saying, this is really just an exercise in showing how you can use parameters and how you can pass multiple parameters inside the same path. So I think everything that folks have suggested there in chat is probably, are great ways of doing it as well. Yeah. Nothing, it's not, if it works, it's not wrong. Yeah. Sounds like it worked for everybody. And I love that folks thought of so many different ways of doing it. Yeah. So, 10 developers plus one problem equals 10 solutions. Exactly. That's awesome. I love that. Okay. So I think this is essentially done, right? Because we're deleting, we're getting the ID, we're redirecting, and we're just refreshing the page. So it takes away the comment that we deleted, right? We'll go ahead and save this. Now, what did we say the next thing was that we needed to do? Yeah, and Fanaflix, says find by ID and delete is probably the better way. Yep. I think the cool thing about delete one is that if you're using something other than ID, you could delete something else. You could do a delete one or delete many on something else other than the ID, right? You could choose some other characteristic of the document. Yeah, the next thing we need to do is the route for our delete. Exactly. So we have this new method, but now we need to direct to it via our routes. Yeah, and Piece of Shoot says when we delete a post, you should also delete the comments related to that post. Yeah, and that could be an additional feature that you add as well. Yep. So that way the comments aren't just orphaned hanging out there, right? Yeah. Yep, good call. All right, so let's look at our routes. Now, if we're just deleting a single comment, logically, where do we think, which routes file do we think that this should belong to? Which route file do we think this should belong to? We're just deleting a single comment, not the post. Which route file do we think this should belong to? Yeah, delete. Yeah, and Trinae, that's a great point. If you wanted to delete all of the comments associated with a post at the same time, then delete many, I think would be an awesome method to do that. Yep. Yeah, okay, so our routes are probably going to be in, our new route is going to be in comment.js. And Kasava says, won't that be automatically done? We're talking about deleting all the comments associated with a post. Yeah, they won't show up if the post is gone. They won't ever show up, but they'll still be taking up dead weight in your database. So it's up to you if you want that dead weight. Do you want those orphan comments sitting out there? They'll just be hanging around, loitering, junking up the place, right? So you might as well delete them. Yeah. Okay, so we're inside of our comments.js router here. And essentially, all we need to do is just add an additional route to reference our new delete comment method. Zuck wants them, all of them. Yeah, I'm sure he does, but we're gonna be more ethical than the Zuck. Delete all orphans. Hey now. Yeah, sometimes the language choices that we use in coding, you have to be very specific about what you're talking about, right? It's gotten better. Things have changed, but yeah. All right, so I'm going to need to be referencing some kind of router, right? Router dot something. So what do we think, what type of method do we think I'm going to be performing here? We have our new controller method called delete comment. So what do we think I'm going to say here? Router dot what? Context is everything. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be router dot delete, right? Router dot delete. And I'm going to go ahead and just sort of create a route for this that starts with, and this, and when we talk about building our routes, building our paths, they can really be whatever we think is most descriptive as far as, you know, determining what goes where. So I'm just going to call my route delete comment. Okay, so my route is going to be called delete comment. And then I also, remember my controller is waiting on some information that I am passing in. We already said rec.params, right? It's waiting on a couple pieces of information that I am passing in from the view. So let's remind ourselves what those are. So it's waiting on two things. It's waiting on rec.params comment ID and rec.params post ID. It needs two things. So if I'm passing those as rec.params, I'm going to need to be passing them inside of my path itself, right? Yeah, and we are going to be using method override in the view. Yeah, we don't call on method override here. We call on it in the view. Yep. Yeah, so I'm going to need to be passing in two params. So colon syntax. Yep, exactly. And I can just list them like this. And the colon syntax, what that does is it says, hey, this is essentially a variable, right? This is going to be a changeable value that's going to change depending on what gets clicked on. It's just the view is going to fill this in for us and send it up. And the route doesn't really care what's here. It's just saying, hey, these are going to be variables. They're going to change. We're going to just pass them straight through to the controller. The route doesn't care what these are. It's just kind of setting the variables here. Yeah, post ID, comment ID. Yep. And in my case, I didn't capitalize either of these. You might capitalize them. Just do what works best for you. I just said post ID, comment ID, just like this. And what's neat, it's something we haven't really done before. And that's what I wanted to do here, is show that you can pass in multiple parameters in the same path, right? Previously, all we had done was something like this, where it was create comment / ID, and then the single parameter was at the end. But here, we're doing two in sequence and passing them both to the controller at the same time. Yeah, it's just something new that we haven't really done before to show you that you can do this. And so both of these will be passed into our controller as rec.params comment ID and rec.params post ID. And we can see too that it doesn't really matter what order I put them in, right? Here, post ID comes first, followed by comment ID. Doesn't matter, doesn't care. As long as it's in the path, it will grab them out of there in whatever order it needs to. Okay, so we have router.delete, and then now we just need to tell it where to go. So we're telling it, we're giving it what we're passing in, and I'm going to reference my comments controller, and then the specific method, which is delete comments. Yeah. What are you reacting to there, Zena? Shocked face. I've done it for my API. Are you talking about stacking parameters like this? Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's cool to show that this is something you can do, right? You can pass in multiple values from the view. Oh, the order of the params doesn't matter. Yeah, and that's another thing I wanted to show is that here we're passing in post ID first, followed by comment ID. But when we go to the controller, I'm referencing the comment ID first, followed by the post ID, and it doesn't care. Renate says, can't you use the same route for both post and delete? Can't use the same route for both post and delete. Router.post comment. Well, we're passing different things in here. If in both, we're passing in different information, and we're referencing a different method here. So this is referencing the create comment method, and this is referencing the delete comment method. And piece of shoot, yeah, depending on how you've constructed your routes, the order does matter in progressing through the routes, but in this case it doesn't, because we're just sending them straight to the controller. So piece of shoot, I think I see what you're saying. You're talking about when as you're stepping through routes, the order in which things are in your path does matter to make sure that things go to the right route, right? But in this particular case, it doesn't, because we're just grabbing those things in the controller. Yeah, and Rascal there shared an express route tester, which looks pretty cool. So if you're not sure whether your route is going to work, you can maybe try that. Nice. Thank you, Rascal. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying, piece of shoot. I didn't understand you. Yeah, when you construct the route in your EJS, yeah, so when we'll get there when we get to the view. Yeah, when we drop the things into the route in the view, it will matter, because those are the things that are going to be assigned to post ID and comment ID. Yes, yeah, 100%. Yep. I was saying that when we're passing post ID and comment ID, the values themselves, like, they're already set, right? They're set. Post ID and comment ID are set, and they're just going into the controller. It can still grab them out of there as long as they exist in the path. But yes, when we set them in the view, when we originally, yeah, they're already set. Yeah, I'm only talking about from the router to the controller. So the values are set. They're in stone. By the time they get here, they're assigned, right? And so it can grab them out of there. But when we set them in the view, yes, the order absolutely does matter. 100%. I totally agree with you there. Yep. Yeah, exactly. The router itself, and that's an important thing to emphasize. The router does not care what is in here. It does not care. Remember, the router is not the logical part of our app. The controller is the logical part. Yeah. So the router's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, and chucks it along, right? Chucks it to the right place. The controller is what does the work. Yep. Yeah, and you can modify these routes, Juanma. Yeah, you can modify these routes to be more descriptive to you. Absolutely. Yep. Feel free. Again, my code is up there on GitHub, !GitHub. If you want to find that repo, and feel free, take it and tweak it. I would suggest, making your own repo. Make sure you have your own repo, and you're working independently, because you wouldn't want me to, modify this base code and then yours gets messed up. But router be like, not my problem. Yeah, and really it is. It's just passing this stuff along. Yeah. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. We're going to be passing in two things from the view and setting them to post ID and comment ID. And like we said, yes, they are going to need to be in the correct order in the view, and we'll definitely make sure of that when we get there. They're going to get sent up to the controller. The controller just plucks them right out of there and uses them in the controller. Perfect. So we have our route now, and let's see, I think that was all we needed to add here, because we only added one new method. All right, good stuff. Okay, now what's next? Do we need to change anything inside. So if we're working kind of backwards through the process here, we went to our model, we did our controllers, we did our routes, and technically next would be our server, right? Because the server.js is actually what's listening for things coming from the view. So do I need to make any changes inside of my server.js? Do I need to make any changes inside of my server.js? Folks are saying no. Okay, why not? Anybody know why not? Yeah, the route is already there. The basic route to get us here is already present. Yeah, we already have the base route there. So if we go into our server.js and we scroll down to the bottom and see what it's listening for, we already have something that takes us to that comment router where we added the new route. So base route is already there. It's already listening for that. And once it gets there, then our new router will make the correct determination, choose the proper method, and the controller will take it from there. So yeah, we're all good there. Nothing needs to change in our server.js. Okay, so I'm thinking that the next thing we need to do is actually start working on the view and making sure that our view is going to not only display the data that we want it to, but also send the appropriate data up in the path, right? We need to be sending data up as well as doing the appropriate work with the data that we're sending down. So we need to look at our up and down action and see what needs to be done there. Views, yeah. All right, let's pop into our goals here and see how we're doing. So user who created a comment, yep. Okay, this is going to be in the views. We're going to need to add a delete button. Again, we're going to need a conditional statement in the view. Okay, so that's to do. A controller with a delete method. We did that. Done. A route to the controller. Done. Database storage. Done. And the username. Done. Okay, so we're almost done. We only need to do essentially a couple more things and then, making sure that we're sending the correct data up to the controllers as well. So we're getting there. Good stuff. Okay, let's look at our views. Now, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this that essentially we're only going to be touching a single view for this particular exercise. Feels so nice to add those dones. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to just check things off, right? It feels good. Oh, there's the dog. I forgot to show you the dog. We're heading up to another break. After this next break, I'll show you the dog. Okay, I don't want to mess up my camera right before a break, but at the end of the break, I'll show you the dog. Yeah, he's awake. Yep, he just got up and shook his collar. All right, that's a little incentive for you to stick around after the next break. Okay, so we're going to look at our view here. We'll take a break in about 10-15 minutes. And we're going to go into our post.ejs. So like I said, we're only really going to modify a single one of our views. And just for now, I'm going to kind of make this, let's see, it's so hard to see these. Make this a little bit bigger. Maybe that's a little better. All right, and let's think about what we need to do. First off, let's find the part of the view that we actually want to work on. So what we want to find the comments section. And it looks like it's here, starting with this H2. So add a comment, and then we have a form, which is doing a post, and it's creating a comment, and it's sending up the post ID so that it can be written to the database. Okay, cool. And I don't think we really need to change anything here because we're just creating a new comment, and we're doing the lookups for the user information in our controller, right? None of this needs to come from the view. So the two new fields that we added, the user ID and the username, both of those are already present in the request by default. So we don't need to send any information up from the view when we create a comment. The document will just be populated with those extra fields. So I think that'll work. So that's fine. We are going to need to start making changes when we display the comments below that submit box, right? EJS is so hard to read. I know. Yeah, React should help. Yeah. No worries, Zena. Yeah, definitely catch the VOD. Have your lunch. So down here is where we're actually displaying our list items. So it's going to iterate through that list of comments, and it's going to display certain information about them. For anybody who may know, why does the footer partial have closing HTML and body tags? Seems they're already closing the tags from elsewhere. Yeah, I think the footer is a little extraneous. However, you could correct that, and you could put additional information in there if you wanted a specific footer. I think I noticed that before. It's got extra closing tags in there. Oh wait, no, wait, it doesn't. On this page, it doesn't though. On this page, it doesn't. So the closing tags for the body actually are not present on this page. So maybe it's not true on every single page. Luckily, most browsers nowadays are pretty flexible on that. It seems they don't care too much. Yeah, they close the tags in the header, right? And I think on some pages they're accurate, and some pages they're not. But it's all good. The browser seems to support it either way. Okay. Yeah, the head, and that's right. That's right. That's what I figured out. So the header partial actually accidentally closes the HTML and body tags. And the browser, but the browser is nice to you, and it's like, okay, buddy, I know what you meant, right? It's the browser's like, okay, I got you. I'm gonna be nice to you. I'm gonna figure out how to render this page. But yeah, you can definitely fix that. That's a problem with the template itself. Yep. Yeah, nowadays browsers are pretty flexible. Okay, so here we're looking at the list where each comment is displayed. So this right here, we're looking at the list where each comment is displayed, and we're going to make some changes to that to add our additional information. So let me get back to the code we're working with right here. So let's think about what we want to add here. So I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get the nasty green comments here, but what are some of the things that we're going to want to add? Right now, it's just straight up showing comment. It's just showing the comment text, nothing else. So what are some of the additional things that we're going to need to add here to fulfill our objectives? Yeah, we're going to need to add username, right? And delete button. Yeah. We're not going to do a likes count on the comments. The likes count are actually on the post. But yeah, you could add likes to your comments if you wanted. Yep. So for now, the only fields that we have that we can use are the username and the delete button, right? Those are things that we can add right now. Yeah, and you can use partials, as Mavi said. You can use partials for other things other than the header and the footer. You can use partials for actual sections in the middle of your page. Yeah. Okay, so we need to add a username and a delete button. Now, if we recall, we're actually passing all of the information from our comment document in just an object, in a blob, down from our controller. Our controller is sending all of that information down. So our view can reach in there and just cherry pick which elements of that object it actually wants. So let's think about then how we want to display this. So it's cycling through the comments. It's displaying the comment text, comments I.comment. And I want to also display the username. So how might I do that? Forget about like formatting and like grammatical accuracy here. How might I also retrieve the username from the comment object that I have sent down from the controller. How would I get the username out of there? Remember, we're storing the username inside of the comment documents. We're sending it down from the controller as is, and what we need to do is reach in there and pull it out. Oh, if you type to do within that, okay. Try that. Hey, thank you for that. Yeah, that looks better. Yeah, we're gonna need to reference created by, exactly. Yeah, we're gonna need to reference our created by field, which we're passing down. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this. And instead of comments I dot comment, I can just say comments I dot created by. Yeah. So I've saved that. And let's forget about, like I said, let's forget about grammatical accuracy for now. Let's just see if this works. Let's test it. Let's see if the display changes. Let's see if we can get this to display. So we'll make this bigger. I saved it. I'm going to restart my server. Remember that when you make any changes inside of your EJS files, you need to restart your server. So restarted that. We didn't get any errors when we restarted the server, so that's good. And now let's see if don't say first try yet. Let's see if this is actually going to work. Oh, hey, look at that. Look at that. What do we have here? We have some usernames. Wolf2, Wolf3, Wolf3, Wolf3. Now this one at the bottom doesn't have a username. Why? Anybody know? We didn't break anything. Why doesn't this one have a username? Yeah, right, because we submitted it with the old version of the code. It's created before the model was changed. Exactly. That field literally did not exist when we submitted this comment. It's an old document. Yep. Because we submitted it when we first fired up the code. And so the model had not yet been updated with those new fields. And so it literally had nothing to store. Yep. Exactly. So that's why it's important to remember when you're making iterative changes like this, it's really important to remember that, you may not have had all of the fields that you needed when that document was created. So of course they're not going to display. You didn't break anything. It's all good. It's just an old document. Drop your test database. Yeah, we can drop that test document. It's not hurting anything being in there right now, but you can delete documents that you don't want anymore. You can go into MongoDB and click a delete button and delete them that way. Mavi says, I know, I did the same thing. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to call it out, because I feel like it happens a lot. You're making iterative changes. You change your data. You forget what it used to look like, and you're like, oh, what did I break? Oh, yeah. Your user shows as a string of numbers and letters. That is probably because you are referencing the wrong field. So make sure that you're referencing the created by field, not created by ID. Because what you're getting there is that's a MongoDB ID, not the username. So at some point, you may have gotten your fields mixed up in created by versus created by ID. And so it might be wrong here in the view, or it could be wrong in your model. Is there a way to update old documents so they have the newer fields? Well, I think you could probably do it by find by ID and update. Yeah, because you would be referencing your new model. I haven't tried that, but I mean, I think that you could probably just use find by ID and update. It gets real fun when you can't drop the old database and got to migrate data. Ugh, yeah. To be honest, MME, I haven't tried that. If somebody else has tried that, Spaghetti says, how would you know who actually wrote the comment? That's what we're getting right here. That's this right here. This field right here is who actually wrote the comment. Wolf 2, Wolf 3, Wolf 3, Wolf 3. Just created by ID, need a ref of user or post. We're referencing user for this one, but it doesn't really matter the way that we're doing it. But the reference should be user. But for our purposes, it doesn't. That reference field doesn't really come into play. However, if you want it to be accurate, it would be user. Mean for the old ones? Oh yeah, spaghetti. That information is lost. Yeah, so you might as well just delete them because yeah, you can't know who wrote them if you literally weren't sending that information when it happened, right? Rascal says, never actually dealt with NoSQL migrations. When using SQL, they can generate the SQL code to migrate most things. Yeah, I do that a lot. Doing migrations in SQL is something I'm familiar with, but not in a NoSQL context. Yeah, I do migrations from database to from source to, I do like ETLs from source to target literally every day. Yeah. So yeah, we might as well just delete this test comment 9 because it's not going to have accurate information at any point. Yep. Okay, so we have the basics, right? We have our comment and we have the user who submitted it. So let's tweak the formatting a little bit to make it look better. So I'm going to do Piece of Shoot says you could do a find for documents missing that field and run an update on all of them. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like, yeah, because find will let you find multiple. So yeah, then you can do an update on all of them. Yeah, good call. Okay, so it's like I know how I would do that in SQL, but I don't I don't really have all those mongoose methods in my head yet. So that'll be another thing to get more familiar with, is all the possible mongoose methods that you can use to do this sort of thing. Okay, so let's do. I'm going to kind of change this around a little bit. We're going to have the username come first and then the comment text. So username first, and I'm going to say something like user so-and-so says, and then I want to put their actual comment text in quotes, just like that. So that should look better. That should change make the formatting look a little bit better. Okay, and again, I'm going to restart my server. Oh, I could have just reloaded that. Yeah, I didn't need to restart. Well, okay, so now that looks a little bit better. Now it says user wolf2 says, this is a perfectly reasonable comment. And so what's nice is we can use EJS to essentially just kind of almost like we're putting variables inside of our string, right? We can just write out the string, and any point where we want that the value, the field to change, we just put in our EJS, tell it what we want, and then continue our string, and then continue our EJS. So does that make sense what we did there? How we were able to format this? And technically, I mean, I should probably put this inside of a span or something, but still works. So once again, from our controller, we're getting a list of comments. Each of those comments has, multiple properties, multiple things associated with them. And what we're doing is we're extracting the username from that we built in our schema. We're extracting the username, and we're extracting the comment text, and we're just adding a little bit of text formatting around it to make it look more readable. Okay, now next, let's go ahead and add our delete button. So I'm going to be a little bit of a baddie here, but I think we'll survive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab up here, just up a little bit farther. We actually have I was looking for something similar, and we actually have another delete method up a little bit higher on the page. And what that is the trash can. So I looked and said, all right, we're actually already doing a delete on this page, and it's the trash can for when we want to delete an entire post. So when we want to delete an entire post, we click the trash can and it automatically deletes. So how does that happen? Well, if we find it here in our EJS, we're just going to yoink, as Rascal said, we're going to yoink the previous delete button and reuse it. We're gonna what is it? We're gonna yoink the delete button and we're gonna yeet it down there. I don't know. Hello, fellow kids. I don't know. So we're gonna yoink that and we're gonna yeet it down there. It is time for a break. So I think I'm gonna grab this whole form. So we have this whole form that does the delete for this trash can. Probably can't see that. Got the whole form that does delete for this trash can. I'm going to grab it, drop it in there, and when we get back, we'll modify it. The old yoink and yeet, yeah. Just change the button danger instead of primary. Yeah, and I think that's exactly what I did. So we're going to go back down here. We grab the entire, remember, make sure that if you do grab this, you grab the entire form, opening and closing tags. Grab the whole thing, and we're going to drop it down below our comments. Now, where you put this, make sure that you put it inside. Make sure that you put it inside of our for loop. So it's inside the for loop. And we're just going to drop that whole form in there. I'm going to save this. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We're almost done, but I do want to respect, our break schedule. We're almost done. We're going to modify this, add a little bit of conditional logic to make sure that we only show the delete button to the right people, right? We don't want to show it when it shouldn't be shown. We're going to show the delete method to the right people, make some other small changes to this, and then we'll essentially be done. We'll have all the functionality that we need. I altered the buttons a little already because they were too ugly. Yeah, they're just classic Bootstrap. So yeah, you can definitely alter them. All right, we're gonna put 5 minutes on the clock, and then when we come back, we will make those few minor tweaks. I'll show you the dog. He's right there on the floor. I'll show you the dog. We'll make those few last minor tweaks, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm deleting everyone's comments. That's why we hide the delete button. Yeah, exactly. Okay, and it looks like Paradise, you did figure out your problem. Awesome, good job. Okay, reset, start, 5 minutes, and I will see you all back here in 5. Stay tuned for the dog when we come back. Only allowed to delete others' comments. That's a twist. Okay, folks, we got about a minute left, so come on back. We're almost done, and we got a couple fun things to do as well. Obviously, I'm going to show you the dog, and we also have, after we're done with the code, we have a stable diffusion image to generate. I also just noticed something too, that Twitch is telling me that I'm dropping frames, and I have no idea why, because I literally have gigabit internet. Like, literally, gigabit internet. So why am I dropping frames? No idea. Also, y'all are coming up with like the most evil social media site ever. Random deletion of comments, deleting others' comments, one delete button that deletes a random comment. I love it. Hey, Snarfin. Mom, pick me up. I'm scared. They're deleting my comments. Yeah, I don't know what's up with my. I don't know why I'm dropping frames. It's so weird. Delete the whole app button. Woo! Sorry. Stop. That's really loud. Did not mean to do that. There are times when I wish I could delete other people's comments, right? Well, we're gonna have it be a user specific feature. GPU run a little hot? No, it's really not. It's nice and cool. Fan's not revving. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'll investigate my Twitch settings and see what's up. I hope the stream quality has been decent anyway. Dropped frames or not. All we got to add is microtransactions. Man, that is the most evil social media app I've ever seen. 100 devs coming up with evil social media. All right, we're in the home stretch now. Let's go ahead and finish this bad boy up. Oh, maybe it's just the beginning. Okay, yeah. Throw loot boxes in there somehow. Jeez, come on, we're not EA. Come on. All right, yes, doggo. Time for doggo. Yes. All right, he's on the floor. Let's see if we can get the camera. Let's see if we can get the camera. So motion warning, the camera will move. So we'll go to other screen here. Okay. Let's see if I can get the camera going. Down. Motion, motion, motion. Move myself out of the way. There he is. There's the doggo. That's Ben. It's my dog. He likes to lie on the floor while I stream. Sometimes he lays on the couch, just chilling. Yeah, he zones out while I stream because he knows it's going to be the long haul. So he's just like, you know what? I'm going to sleep. Yeah, he's a standard poodle. He's a standard poodle. He is, how old is he? 3? Yeah, he's 3. He's going to be 4 in November, so pretty soon. Sorry for the angle there. I'm trying to get it there. Yeah, he'll be 4 in November, so he's a young boy. Napping from a long day of dog. Yeah, we did play frisbee earlier, and he got pretty tired out. So, yeah, he got pretty tired out playing frisbee. All right, I'm gonna try to get my camera back to the right angle. Worth it though. All right. Come on, camera. Okay, I think it's good. I think we're good. There. Okay, we're back. Our dog is the exact same way. He sleeps while I'm in sessions, and once I said chow chow, he gets up. Oh, that's so cute. Yeah. And he just rolled over on his stomach and like made it super loud, like ugh, groan. He's like, Mom, when are you gonna be done? Jeez. What webcam are you using? I'm using a Logitech Stream Cam Pro, I think is what I'm using. It's pretty good. It's fine. And it does a good job for the most part. Sometimes it refuses to focus, but it does pretty good auto white balance, auto focus. So you don't. Sometimes I wish it had like a manual focus wheel though, so that I could change that when I want to. But for the most part, it does fine. Eventually, I'll probably get a better one, but it does pretty well for where I'm at right now. Now chasing frisbees, yeah. He does love frisbee. What he doesn't like is giving me the frisbee after he retrieves it. That's the thing that's not fun for him. He doesn't no take, only throw. Yeah. Refuses to focus. I got a lot in common with the camera. Yeah, sometimes I do too. Okay, let's finish this up. All right, so we've got our user, and what we were going to do is our next task here is to actually add the delete button, but only show it to the users who have who it's their comment, right? We want to make sure that it's their comment and then give them the ability to view the delete button. Yeah, I would say my current webcam is, or stream cam, whatever it is, stream cam pro. It works fine the for beginning streaming. It's very like you literally plug it in and it just works. So it's a good starter cam. And I'm using a ring light that cost $12. I think it was either 12 or 20. So super high quality. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just getting back to where I was. Okay, yeah. So now, what do we think we need if we only want to show? If we only want to show. Oh, sorry. And another thing I need here too. Make sure I get this right. I put my form in the wrong place. I need to make sure that my form is inside of the list item. So I need to move this a little bit so that make sure that it's inside. Let's see, put it here. Yeah. Make sure that my form is actually inside the closing tag for the list item so that I don't put it outside by accident. Okay. So if I only want to show the delete button to certain people, what do we think I'm going to need to code here in order to decide whether or not that delete button is shown? What EJS element am I going to need here around my form? So right here. A bouncer? Okay. What type of bouncer? I'm going to need to do some logic here. So what do we think that logic is going to be? In general, just, yeah, you don't have to give me the specific everything, but what do we think we might use? Hey, Rask. Yeah, an if statement, some kind of an if statement. We're checking something. Yeah, we're checking to see. And what did we say? We said in our goals, we said a conditional statement in the view that compares the logged in user with the comments user ID. So that's literally what we need. We need an if statement that compares the logged in user with the user ID attached to the comment. Okay, I think we can manage that. All right, so here I'm going to do an if. Is it Flutter? This is EJS. That's not to say that I'm using EJS because I love it to death. I'm just using EJS because that's what we're practicing right now. All right, so I'm going to need an if statement, and I'm going to essentially just check and see. We're already passing that created by ID inside of our comment object, right? We're storing it in the database. We're passing it from the controller into our view. So I'm just going to say if comments I could have just copied and pasted, but whatever. Created by ID. So that's already in the object, no problem. And essentially all I'm doing is I'm just checking to see if this equals the ID of the user that's currently logged in. Now, where do I get that ID of the user that's currently logged in? We always can use a ternary, but should we is another question. Yeah. In this case, we're just going to use an if. Yeah, so we need to make sure that we're actually getting it from the controller, right? Because the request gets passed up to the controller. So the request goes in this direction. it goes up from the view to the controller, right? So the request goes up. Now we need to make sure that we're actually getting that user ID so that we can use it down here in the view. So let's just check our controller really quickly and make sure that we're passing that down and see how we're passing that down so that we can retrieve it properly. Because the view can only use what we send it, right? The view can only use what the controller sends it. So let's see. Let's find it. All right. So in comments, when we're rendering, let's see. Actually, no, it's going to be in our get post. It's actually going to be in this method. It's going to be in get post because that's what's rendering the page. That's what's rendering our post.ejs. All right. So let's see what we're sending to post.ejs when we render it. Well, we're sending post information. And look at that. Yeah, we're sending user information. So we can get that user ID. So it's coming, it's being sent into our post.ejs. So we have it. That means that the view can actually use it. So we can essentially just say user dot, should be just user dot ID. That should give us our user ID that we need. Okay. Post. Comments created by ID. I think we can just say user dot ID because we're passing it into the view already from the controller. So we should be fine. It's just, yeah, the question was, notice the double equals, why not a triple equals? That's literally only because elsewhere in the code, a double equals is being used. You could use a triple equals, I think, with no problem. Yeah, but if you're comparing an object ID and a string, then yeah, you would probably have to use the double equals, just because they wouldn't absolutely explicitly match type. But yeah, this is just consistent with the rest of the code. We can try with the triple equals and see if it works. Yeah. All right, so we're saying if the comments created by ID equals the ID of the user who's currently logged in, then show our delete button. And I'm going to make sure I close out this, this if statement as well. So I want to close my if statement down here. Okay, I always get this wrong, but I'm working on it. Closing tag for EJS. All right, that should do it. I use double equals so I don't have to care about type too much. Yeah, JavaScript lets you do that. Okay, yeah, and that's what I was wondering about as far as the type match. Like Piece of Shoot says, they tried it with triple equals and it didn't work because they're different types. And so we have, because remember, we're storing these as object IDs, not strings, right? In the database, it's stored as an object ID, not a string, so they don't explicitly match. So when we compare them, it doesn't work. So yeah, I guess we have to use double equals here. Thank you for testing that out, Piece of Shoot. All right, so we closed our if. So this will only show our button if the comment created by ID is equal to the user ID who's logged in. Cool. Now let's modify this form so it actually does what we want. The structure is there, but we're going to need to change what's inside of it. Okay, so let's think about our route. Now we've already actually set up our route. So we want this delete to go into the comment router. So our server is listening for several different paths to send things to our different routers. We have a comment router. We have a what do we have? Comments, main, and posts. So I'm going to modify this path so that it sends it to the correct, let's see, is it comment? Yeah, I think it's just comment. So it sends it to the correct router. So that's the first task. And what is our router listening for? Well, our router is listening for delete comment, post ID, comment ID. So I'm just going to grab this, the specific route it's listening for. I'm going to grab this and we're going to modify this so that it's filling in the correct information. So comment / delete comment, and then we need to feed it a post ID and a comment ID in that order, as we said earlier. Okay, so first I'm going to populate the post ID. Well, how do I do that? Well, we saw earlier from our controller, when we render the page, we are passing in information about the post. We have to, right? In order to render all this information, like the image and the likes and all that stuff, we're passing in information to the view about the post. So let's figure out what that looks like. If I want to get the ID of the post, let's look around and see if we can find an example of how that might look. Okay, so here we see post ID being referenced. So I'm just going to grab this and drop it in. All right, so this becomes post ID. It'll populate that in the path, and we'll see that when we look in our browser bar up here. All right, so post ID, and then I need comment ID. Oh, thank you. I forgot my opening curly braces. Thank you for that. Yes, good catch. Yep. Good catch. That would have thrown me for a loop there. Oh, EJS. Okay. Thank you. Save that. Okay. All right. And now we need to populate our comment ID. So I think I'm just going to replace this parameter with essentially just comment ID. Comments I. We want to make sure we grab the right one. Comments I, and then ID. Now, I'm not exactly sure whether or not I need the underscore here. We'll try it both ways and we'll see which one works. I'm just curious. We'll see. Throwing you for a loop while working on a for loop. Yeah. All right. So we've got our path. We're sending the information it expects, because remember, our router is listening for a path with a post ID and a comment ID, and we're giving it both of those things in the correct order. But what is this? What's happening here? Because our form requires a method, and forms can only use a couple of different methods, right? Like just get and post. But what's happening here? What are we doing? Yeah, we're using something called method override. And what that does is it overcomes the built-in limitation that forms have, right? Forms can't perform certain operations. They literally cannot. But we can use something called method override to override that limitation and say, actually, just ignore what this says and do what I'm telling you. And what I'm telling you is that this is going to be a delete. And so my route should be listening for a delete method. Yeah. So that's why we can say router.delete and it will recognize this path. So it's pretty cool. Method override is middleware. And you can look in the files here and see what that's about. But really, all you need to know is that it overcomes the limitations of forms and lets you specify a different method, such as delete. And the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm in this particular tag for the form is I'm just going to get rid of this formatting here. What that'll do is it'll let us put the button wherever we want it. So it's not going to force it to be in a certain location. So I just got rid of that class. All right, now let's modify our button. It needs to be a type of submit because it's submitting a form. So it needs to be a type of submit. That's required. I am going to change the class though. So Bootstrap actually has a lot of built-in classes for buttons. And if you want to know what those are, you can literally Google Bootstrap button types like I did. Click on the button link, see pictures of all of them, and just choose which one you want. There's a lot of different types. You can just pick one. It literally gives you what you need to copy and paste to just drop it in there. So I am going to use, you can use whatever one you want. It's just a class. but I'm going to use button outline danger, which will make a red button that's just an outline until you hover it, and then it will turn red. It's danger time. Yeah. Highway to the danger button. Yep. I really like Top Gun. Okay, we'll save that. And then maybe conditionally render when you hover. Yeah, this is pretty close because it stays an outline until you hover, and then it turns solid red. So it's kind of conditional in that way. It has a hover property built in. All these CSS and component libraries are like window shopping. Ooh, that looks nice. Let me try it out. Ooh, let me try another one. Yeah, it really is. You can it's just plug and play. Legos. Materialize or Bootstrap. I like Materialize better, just the way it looks. But I mean, whatevs. Okay, so I think we're good now. The button should only render when we are the correct user. And when we click that button, it should send the appropriate information up through our delete method, up through our router, up through our controller, and delete the item. My only question is I'm not sure whether I need an underscore on my comment ID or not. We'll try it this way. If it doesn't work, we'll add the underscore and then it will work. Devdi says, I've only used raw CSS until now. Yeah, it's fun to mess around with these other tools like libraries that you can use because they can make building your pages a lot faster. Yeah, we got Tailwind, especially I've heard is very good. I haven't messed with it too much. Like I said earlier in general chat, if my pages have color on them, then that's a fancy page for me. I'm a back-end developer. I mean, like, if I have any CSS at all, that's like the height of design. So, all right, let's try it. If you put 7 of them in your HTML, you don't have to choose. Sure. Okay, I think I've saved and reload. Oh, okay, so my button is there. I forgot to add the text. So it needs to say delete. Let's try again. Make this a little bigger so you can actually see. Okay, one more time. There we go. Okay, so it's rendering. That's good. It's also showing me the button. That's good too. And it's only showing me that delete button for my comment, for the comment of the user that I am logged in as. So that's also very good. Oh, site looks cool. What are you using for CSS? Yes, everything. All my websites look like they were made in the 90s. Hey, mine too. Absolutely. All right, now let's test the delete method and see if it actually works. So what this is telling us is that our conditional is working, but will the method, will this path actually work? Send it up to the controller, do the delete, and then reload. Let's see. Okay, it can't delete. All right. So let's read this message and figure out what happened. Reading error messages is an important skill to have too. So it says cannot delete /comment. All right, that's the first part of our path is correct. Delete comment, and then it's only showing me one piece of text here. So it's not able to get either one of these. And if I had to guess, I would say it's probably the comment ID. So I think what I need here is the underscore. Yeah. All right, let's try again. I'm going to go back, reload, and try again. Okay, there we go. And we can see that comment that used to be there is gone. Now I'm going to add another comment and I'm going to try delete again just to make sure. Let's see. All right, deep sci-fi cut for you all. See if you can place it. I guess maybe not too deep. It depends on how old you are. All right, anybody grok this one? I have design challenges too. That's why teams are great. Yeah, working in a team, you can be each other's strengths and weaknesses. Exactly. I will endorse you for yeet testing on LinkedIn. Hey, Neon got it. Good job, Neon. Your name is very cyberpunk, so I guess you got it. Yep. Do some sites just have a master user who can delete any post or update anything without having to mess with backend code? Yeah. I mean, if you think about like a lot of sites will have an admin. Yeah, they'll have an admin or they'll have a team of admins. They can change content, update content, remove things, that sort of thing. And think about like Twitch mods. I mean, that's what Twitch mods kind of do that. Like they control the comment section, they control the chat. They can delete things without, you know, owning the site through Robot Stream of Electric Sheep. Yep. That was the original book, Philip K. Dick. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if. Oh, I think, okay, this is interesting. So, do I not have a delete button? Is my delete button missing? Yeah, it's missing. Okay, I'm glad we tested this. Let's figure out why my delete button isn't showing up. Okay, so we know that the comparison works because it worked with an existing comment. So I don't think there's anything wrong in my EJS. I think that's okay because it worked with an existing comment that was already there. I deleted the delete button. Yeah. So it must be something on the back end that's causing this delete button to not show up. So I'm going to check. Well, yeah, we'll do a console log. I do want to look in the database really quickly and make sure that the appropriate data is being stored on this comment. So let's look in our database and see what's being stored. So I'm going to refresh, find the comment, and see what got written. Okay, I wish this. I really don't like the Mongo Atlas web interface. Probably said that before. Aha! Look at this. All right, what is missing? What's missing? Anybody else spot it? Created by is my name. That's fine. That's what we want. That should be the username. Yes, but what we're missing is the ID, right? We are missing the user ID. So it didn't get written to the database. Yep. But what's cool is that, I mean, Mongo is smart enough that it wrote it anyway. Now, yeah, we're missing the created by ID. Exactly. Now, like somebody said earlier, we could have made that a required field. And so then it would have thrown an error and probably told us quicker that, you know, hey, there's no ID, the document validation failed. I'm not even going to write this to the database. So you could, yeah, you could add a required field there that would have alerted us to this error. But we didn't, so we were still able to figure it out though. All right, let's see where the problem lies. I think I may know what it is, but I'm going to double check. Comment, delete comment. So the problem was it was on our submit comment, and it wasn't able to. Okay, all right. So this is interesting. I want to revisit this with y'all. This is interesting. So when we were looking at the controller for creating our comment, it was mentioned that I could use the rec.userid for the created by ID. So was there something I missed here? Because this is the only thing that I changed from my original code. This is the only thing that I changed. So somebody that was able to do this successfully, was there something, did I miss a step here as far as pulling in that user ID? Because if we're not sure, I'll just change it back to my original way, which I do know works. Is it so rec.user underscore ID? For somebody that was successfully able to get that to work, to just able to add the ID like this, what did you have to do? Was it underscore ID? I'm thinking about like, let's see, who said they got it working before? Because if nobody knows, then I'll just change it back to my original method. But I'm open to suggestions. Anybody know? Somebody's probably typing. Because yeah, the problem is right here. And this was the only thing that I changed, was adding rec.user.id instead of my original method of doing a find against the user collection. Yeah, rec.user. Okay. So this is what's not working. I'm just trying to figure out why. Yeah. No, I didn't have it as underscore ID originally. I had it as this. This is what I had originally. Now the route is fine. So it's creating the comment. So this is good troubleshooting. I like this because this is helping us learn how this stuff works. So the route works, right? Because it created the comment. So it was able to go to the route and grab the controller. The only thing that's not working is specifically this. Created by, oh yeah, okay. So yep, I think I have a spelling error here, or a formatting error here. Yep, I think that's right. Good catch. And that's not the first time I've done that. Let me make sure. Created by, yeah, that's it. I think that's right. Yep, schema silently failed. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, piece of shoot. And today's CS, you're technically right. So MongoDB IDs are named as underscore ID, but in this case, we're getting this information from the request. So it's not coming down from the database, it's coming up from our request. So it's coming in the opposite direction. So it actually does not have the underscore. But in general, you're right. That's how things are stored in the database. All right, let's try again, shall we? Got it. Yeah, exactly. We knew we would, right? There's never any question. It's just finding the problem. Okay, so let's do another test comment. Mine was working because I copy pasted it. Lazy is the way. Yeah, if you copy paste it, you can't type it wrong. All right. So test comment. Let's just do test comment 2. All right, submit. Hey! Tristan says, never typing again. Like I said, hey, I said earlier that if I don't have any tattoos right now, but if I were to get one, it would probably be Control C, Control V. Because that's how I live my life. Yeah, so now it works. And I bet if we look in MongoDB, I am 100% sure that on this latest comment, oops, not that, refresh. First try, yeah. If we look in here, I bet it is storing that properly. Yay! It's storing it properly. No regrets. Living life one clipboard at a time. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of these comments that don't meet the criteria. So delete. And there's the other one that doesn't have. And this one. Delete and delete. All right, all the other ones should be valid. Okay. Reload. All right. So yeah, everything seems to be working now. We've got our delete button. I'm going to add another comment just to test it again. Test comment 5, just picking a random number. Yay! All right. Double delete buttons. Go us. Okay. And one more. Yay! It's working. Woohoo! Okay, and so that's really all we set out to do today. I thought this was going to be a shorter stream today, but apparently I'm physically incapable of doing a stream that's under like 3 hours. So here we are. Now, we do have a couple more things to do before we end for the day. I need to make sure I get the right person. Dev, you requested an AI generated image. DevD, you requested an AI generated image. So DevD, do you first off before we go to that, do we have any more questions before we wrap up? If my block isn't running, pretty sure it's my rec.user. I'll have to figure that out later. Yeah, and like I said, the code is on GitHub. So if you do !GitHub, anybody that wants it can check out my GitHub. The repo is called binary upload boom. And if you go to the comments branch, you'll see all of my commits from last night and earlier today with the updated code. And so you can reference it. And I can even link that for you. Repos, comments branch, and this is literally a direct link for it. Oh, Rascal was a little quicker. Thanks, Rascal. Oh, we got a hydrate there. Yep. Okay. Any last questions? Anybody getting a totally unrelated error when you hit delete? I'm getting a type error about the post title. So I'm wondering maybe something in your schema could be messed up a little bit. MME, if yours says cannot delete, then there's something wrong in your path, maybe. And also, did you check and make sure you didn't make the same error that I did, where I capitalized the wrong letter in the word ID? Yeah, exactly. Sounds like the router is wrong or the URL is wrong. Also, compare directly against the GitHub, the code, and see if maybe you have a small typo somewhere. That's probably what happened. Is it a good idea to make new branches for each portion of code that's being worked on? I mean, that's up to you. If you want to try something, if you want to try an experimental feature that you're not sure whether or not you're going to include it in the final product, you might just create a branch and start working on that. And then if it doesn't work, you can just go back to you can just discard that and go back to the main branch, so you don't mess up the code that you know is good. It's really up to you how you want to structure it. Anyone whose logout doesn't work, I think logout works. I think I've tried it before. You can try it. Yeah, logout works for me. DevD, make sure that you are using the most recent version of the code. Leon, I think, has made some incremental updates to it. So make sure that you didn't, just fork it 3 weeks ago and haven't updated since then. I think he's made some updates here in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it works just fine for me. So I guess just make sure that you're using the most current version of the code. Yeah. Okay, so Vasi, that means that your router is looking for a controller that it can't find. So you have a problem. You have a problem in your router. I think you path at create post. Maybe not the router. No, hang on. Create post. All right. Well, that's in the controller, right? So it's telling you where the problem is. So create post. So you have something wrong here inside of your create post. So double check this and make sure that you don't have a typo. Because we did make an edit. Remember, we did make an edit to this. So check your post.create and make sure that it's accurate, that maybe you didn't forget a comma or make a typo of some kind. That's where I would look. Yeah, so you're missing data. We edited post.create. Oh, no, we didn't. Never mind. Sorry, we edited comment.create. I'm sorry. No? So post.create, that's weird. What did we change? Did we change anything in create post? I don't think so. I guess still look at it and make sure that maybe something accidentally didn't get changed there. Because, I mean, it's telling you the problem is in the create post method. So I guess just double check that. Also, maybe look in the router. We didn't change anything there either. That's weird. Yeah. I am Amasa. So again, check the GitHub, check the repo in the GitHub and compare your code and see if you can figure out. It looks like maybe you have a problem with your EJS. So you're adding the comments and it's not showing your comments. So check your EJS because you probably have a typo there. So I would suggest that the quickest way to figure that out would probably just be to compare against the code in my GitHub repo in the comments branch and make sure that it matches. That's straight from. So you may have something in your. Hang on, maybe Vasi. Did you check and make sure that your Cloudinary key is correct? That all your Cloudinary information is correct? Because the only other thing I could think of is that in this create post right here, maybe this is failing. Like the upload is failing. Maybe. Are you up when you say create post? Are you uploading an image every time, Vasi? Aha. Yeah. All right. Let's look at this. Hang on. Good error. All right. Let's check this. Okay. So it's looking for a file. You didn't upload one. And so if we look in our model, what does it say about that? So it's looking for some stuff that's required, but you didn't upload anything. So nothing goes, nothing goes to Cloudinary. And so MongoDB is missing all these required fields. It gets nothing back. Yeah, it's not getting what it wants. Yeah, so try uploading just a random picture from your computer or whatever, fill in all the fields, and then try it again. Yep. Because yeah, it got to the route and it was like upload file, nothing there, and then everything just failed from there because it didn't have what it needed. Yay! Awesome.